Welcome to the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera. With me is Douglas County Manager Steve Mokrohiski, and welcome, Steve.
Thanks, Lloyd. How are you?
I'm good. How you been doing?
Good. Summer's almost over. School's back in session now,
Right.
and I don't know what happened. I feel like it was just spring, and we were excited about the snow melting and summer being here.
Yeah.
And now it's gone.
It is gone.
Almost.
And like I said last program, it'll be Christmas soon.
That's right.
So,
yeah. Get out your decorations.
That's right. Yeah, might dust them off.
Halloween first, right? Halloween, and well, we've got Labor Day,
With
then
Labor Day,
Halloween,
Halloween.
then Thanksgiving, and
Christmas.
we'll get through it all again. Yeah.
We will. Well, you warned us there was going to be a lot of talk about water at the August 15th meeting, and sure enough, there was. Let's lead off here. There were three...
What do we say in Nevada? Whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting.
Yes, that's a Mark
Right?
Twainism.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, there's three items that kind of interrelate here. Let's start with the Tahoe Douglas District. This was an interesting item. Commissioners denied a proposal for the Tahoe District, Tahoe Douglas District, to perform maintenance and operation for the county Lake Tahoe water systems. Then later in the meeting, they made a move to rehear the item, and then it was tabled for further study. So what is going to happen with this proposal?
Essentially, the board made the decision not to pursue contracting for operation and maintenance services with Tahoe Douglas District. This discussion, as you may recall, goes back over a year, where we created a Lake Tahoe water work group of residents at Lake Tahoe who were interested in working with us through some really complex issues with the water systems there that are aging and the infrastructure is deteriorating. Significant amount of capital investment we'll talk about in a minute that needs to be made there, and rates in the Cave Rock area that are exceeding $200-300 a month. So we worked with those residents. One of the things that the residents wanted us to look into was another method by which we could perform operation and maintenance, trying to reduce the cost as opposed to having county staff. Could we have another entity provide that work? So we put an RFP out, and we got two respondents, Kingsbury GID and Tahoe Douglas District. Tahoe Douglas is a wastewater provider at Lake Tahoe, and Kingsbury General Improvement District is a water provider at Lake Tahoe. So both of them submitted proposals. Their primary proposals at the time did not significantly reduce the cost, which was good for us to know that our costs are not really out of line in that regard. Tahoe Douglas District did submit an alternate proposal at that time during the initial RFP, and they said, well, we think maybe we could scale down the number of staff needed, reduce the cost a little bit more. And we said, well, that's intriguing. And so the board asked us to work with Tahoe Douglas District on that alternate proposal. They refined it, and so that's what the board considered at this meeting, was the refined Tahoe Douglas District proposal with fewer staff that would maintain the water system. We, after doing all of our analysis from the proposal they submitted, we identified their proposal would essentially reduce costs by about $85,000 per year, which isn't bad. The challenge that we had with that is you're talking about aging and complex water systems that the county ultimately is responsible for maintaining. And regardless of who might do the operation maintenance, whether it's us or we contract with someone, we're responsible for the condition of that infrastructure. And we're going to need to put $10 to $15 million worth of capital funds into repairing those systems over the next several years. And our feeling was the risk to contracting out with another entity that we haven't worked with in this regard before, albeit Tahoe Douglas District does a great job and they probably could perform the work well. We ultimately didn't feel comfortable with it. The board agreed. They initially rejected the proposal, and then they came back and they reconsidered it and they decided to table it. The result is essentially the same, but I think that they wanted to send a message to Tahoe Douglas District, who had gone through the effort to submit this proposal, that we appreciate their work, that it's still a consideration in the future, but we still have some short-term issues that we've got to work through before we feel we're going to be in a position to potentially contract out that work.
I see. So
did I make that clear?
Yes.
Is that okay?
I think
it's a complex issue, and it might even get more complex as we talk more about these issues. But
well, I was going to ask you, tabling it means it can be brought back at any time.
Right.
So it can be considered again.
Right. And rejecting it would have meant it could come back. It just would have meant that there's a process you have to go through for those who supported to reject it to bring it back. This allows for more flexibility in bringing that item back before the board. So That was sort of I'd call it a procedural issue that was not really substantive, but the board wanted to do it to send a message to Tahoe Douglas District and allow that flexibility. But again, the result is that we're going to continue doing operation and maintenance service within our existing staff, but the board did say, and our staff, Public Works staff, Carl Rushmeyer, our Director of Public Works, and the new utility superintendent we just brought on, feel confident that we can continue to refine our operational costs within the utility district for Lake Tahoe water systems, pare that cost down, and hopefully reduce the cost to ratepayers in the Lake Tahoe system through some refinement within our own operations. So we still are going to seek to achieve some cost savings there.
Okay. Well, the next item also relates to water. Commissioners discussed the capital improvement needs and funding options for the county's Cave Rock, Upaway, Skyland, and Zephyr Cove water systems. And after some discussion, commissioners directed staff to seek further public feedback and then bring it back to the board.
Right. And so the next item, again, was, as you said, to talk about the capital financing mechanisms. And this gets to, so we kind of dealt with the operation and maintenance side of the rate. And if you pay anyone who has water service, whether it's through a private entity or a town or a GID or the county, you pay a monthly rate. And typically that rate includes operation and maintenance cost, some portion of debt service for outstanding debt, or investment for future capital and/or investment for future capital needs. So the operation maintenance side of the rate we dealt with, and we're going to continue to do that in-house. The future capital is really one of the major rate drivers that was causing, we've got systems between Cave Rock, Upaway, Zephyr Cove, and Skyland that the county took responsibility for about 23 years ago. The systems are about over 50 years old. There's steep terrain. They were constructed in some cases inadequately, and we've done patchwork to maintain them over the course of time. But there has not been reserves that have been built up to pay for the future capital needs. We've identified at least $14 million in rather immediate needs that need to be invested in over the immediate future here. $14 million, and you have maybe 1,000 or so customers in those three systems. So a big amount of money needs to be invested and a small number of people to pay for that cost. One of the things that the ratepayers asked us to do, or the residents we worked with, was to look at carving out that future capital from the rate and pay for it in a different way. So finance it through general obligation bonds or an assessment district, a one-time financing, rather than building it into the monthly rate that ratepayers pay. So we looked at that. We presented a couple options. One is general obligation bonds, which we believe have an overall lower cost of issuance. The other option is a special assessment district, which has a little more flexibility because you're not going out into the private market to sell bonds, but it has costs, administrative costs that come with it. So the board wanted us to go out and we will go through working with the residents in these three systems to educate them first about these options for financing the capital improvements and to try and get public, their feedback on what they'd like to see. There's no easy answer here. At the end of the day, any way you cut it, any way you finance it, it's still $14 million and a limited number of people that are going to have to cover that cost. So we'll go through that public process now with the Lake Tahoe ratepayers and come back to the board with their thoughts.
Well, speaking of rates, commissioners also discussed the consolidation of the Cave Rock, Upaway, Skyland, and Zephyr Cove water systems. After that discussion, they discussed various options. They selected an option and then directed staff to bring forward a resolution for the Tahoe water system rates.
And this was then sort of the culmination of all these discussions. Again, we talked about the operation and maintenance between Douglas County or Tahoe Douglas District, and then we worked on the capital, how you finance the capital costs, which are going to be carved out presumably from the rate. And then we talked about the rates themselves. And the components of the rate are existing debt that we've already incurred for work that's already been done on these systems so that we're obligated to pay back. And then the operation maintenance costs, the labor and the utilities costs and materials and such. So we presented 9 different options. 3 of those 9 options were tied to the Tahoe Douglas District providing service, and that was removed then when we decided not to go that route. So we had 6 options to consider. Each of those options, I should say about half of those options, considered a subsidy from the general fund to help bring that cost to ratepayers down. As we said, the average cost in Cave Rock was somewhere exceeding $200 per month, and it was going up into the range of $300 per month, not including the future capital. So our goal has been to try and get that rate to around $100 a month. It's a flat rate at Lake Tahoe because they don't have meters in these 3 systems. We're going to meter. We're going to get to that point, but it's several $million to meter these systems. And so we've considered, do you put several $million into installing meters, or do you put that money into repairing the failed systems? The feeling is they should go into the repairing the failed systems and then into the metering. So it's a flat rate for now. The goal has been to get that rate down to about $100 a month. And some people in the Carson Valley may think, well, that's a pretty good rate, $100 a month, considering those systems. But that doesn't include the future capital piece. So keep in mind that these ratepayers are likely to pay something in the range of $100 a month in each of the systems if you combine all 3 of them. And then they're going to pay some type of assessment on top of that to cover the $14 million in capital money to repair these systems. So it's still, we've said there's no silver bullet to this problem. There's going to be pain any way you slice it. So ultimately, the board selected what we called scenario C3, which starts as kind of a tiered rate. It starts at about $96 per month, and then it ramps up to $113 by 2019. And it includes a general fund subsidy of about $150,000 next year, and then it goes down to 0 by 2019. So what we want to try and do is put ourselves on a diet and wean ourselves off of this general fund subsidy in the next 4 to 5 years and get the health of the system, the fund in place. So what this would be is taking these 3 separate funds, similar to what we did in the Carson Valley, and combining all 3 systems into one fund. So for accounting purposes, you've only got 1 fund rather than 3, and you have economies of scale and efficiencies that are created there, and you have 1 rate that's established. The systems are not connected, as they aren't in many cases in the Carson Valley yet. So a similar scenario in terms of the consolidation of the systems there, different again in the way in which the rate will be set, that you'll have a flat rate and then a separate capital component that we'll have to figure out how to finance that piece. So this was the first piece of the discussion. This included reducing our operation maintenance costs by tightening up our belt for the labor and other expenses. We now will go through a process to notice the residents of the proposed rate structure. We'll seek additional public feedback, and then we go through this several-month process where come to the board, they approve it, we take public comment, and there are a couple hearings before that rate is ultimately adopted. So we're likely a few months away from final adoption of these water rates.
There's a lot of information and a lot of information to get your head around here. And I think Chairman Lynn said it best, in that this is the toughest thing facing the Board of Commissioners that they've had to face in years. I mean, getting all this squared away, the rates and the operation and the maintenance and everything of the water systems at Lake Tahoe. That's been something that the Commission has found difficult to tackle over the years. It's been an ongoing process.
It's been ongoing. And the challenge with it, I think, when Commissioner Lynn and the other commissioners agreed with this comment, particularly those who've been on the board for some time now, who've seen this issue and the kind of evolution of the issue. If you recall, a few years ago, there's discussion about a full consolidation of all the county's water systems on paper between the Lake Tahoe and the Carson Valley systems. And of course, Lake Tahoe systems liked that idea because we have a large customer base in the valley. So it would have helped to offset some of the costs for the lake rate and reduce their rate. The Carson Valley residents didn't like that option so much because they felt like it was valley residents subsidizing the lake. The thing that's important to remember is we've got under 20%, I forget the percentage, it's like 10 to 15% of our population is in Lake Tahoe.
Right.
But 40% of the assessed valuation is in Lake Tahoe. So and the vast majority of the TOT revenue that we collect that supports park recreation library and other services. A good chunk of our sales tax revenue is from Lake Tahoe. So we need to keep in mind that we're one community. We're diverse. We have different populations and different needs in different areas of the community. But every sector, every area contributes something of value, and so we just need to keep that in mind as we talk about equity and fairness and all these kind of things. So I think the board felt comfortable really with some form of a subsidy for the lake water systems, particularly if we were talking about starting in one place and then weaning ourselves off of that, which is what we've done in the valley. But very difficult options, discussion issue and options that we have with the Lake Tahoe water systems. It's not going to be easy for these residents, not only for the monthly rate, but for how they finance the capital costs. So we'll continue to work to solve this issue.
Okay, well, this will be a big item to watch, that's for sure. At that meeting on August 15, commissioners approved an interlocal agreement between Nevada Division of Environmental Protection and Douglas County for the implementation of the Lake Tahoe Total Maximum Daily Load, TMDL.
Right. And this is long time in the works now. The Federal Environmental Protection Agency came down with requirements for reducing these fine particulates, we call it fine sediment particles, that through stormwater runoff find their way into Lake Tahoe, and that fine sediment is what is largely contributing to the decline in clarity of the lake. Of course, we all know we want to keep Lake Tahoe blue. We all believe in the local government, in the private sector, our residents, TRPA and other entities that we work with, that the way to keep Tahoe blue and to continue to improve the clarity is to turn our community green, really to redevelop the built environment in Lake Tahoe, to make it more energy efficient, to have stormwater improvements that capture that fine sediment, don't allow it to go into the lake. We still have some in the environmental community who fight that notion and who feel like we should do nothing. There should be no investment in Tahoe, and that's what will help the environment. And I think most reasonable people understand that the reality is you can protect the environment, and actually the way to protect the environment is to invest in the economy and to redevelop your built environment. And so there's proven science on this front. And that's really what the TMDL is intended to do, is look at how do we take public dollars and invest them in stormwater improvements, and how do we allow for private investment in projects like the Edgewood Lodge development, which is a 4 to 5 star proposed lodging facility at the Edgewood Tahoe Golf Course, which has been widely supported by the environmental community and by local government and TRPA and businesses as having it both ways. Protecting the environment by collecting 500,000 pounds per year, 500,000 pounds of sediment per year from entering Lake Tahoe, by restoring wetlands, by allowing greater access to recreation and to the lake itself, and investing in the economy by having a first-class tourist attraction where people are going to come, spend money, recreate here, and then leave. So these are the type of private investments that we're looking for, along with the limited public dollars that are now available. And so this agreement with NDEP, the Nevada Department of Environmental Protection, to Leo Drozdoff, the director of the department, and David Gaskin and Governor Sandoval and all of their staff that we've worked with, they have been a pleasure, absolute pleasure to work with. When you look at these regulatory agencies at the state and federal level we have to work with oftentimes, NDEP has had the approach of the carrot, not the stick, incentivizing improvements to the environment, not punishing, at every turn. So this is a 5-year agreement that creates incentives for us to invest in those stormwater improvements, continue to capture that fine sediment from finding its way into the lake, and improve the clarity of the lake and the overall economy in our community.
Okay. The last item from the meeting, commissioners did hear a presentation from Carson City Health and Human Services and Douglas County Social Services on community health activities.
Right. This is a great partnership and another example of how local government is working together on a regional basis. Carson City and Douglas County, we contract. State of Nevada used to provide public health public health services and a public nurse, and it was high cost, and we didn't get the service that we liked. So we went to Carson City, and did a 180. Outstanding service. They focus on childhood immunizations, on preventing sexually transmitted diseases, and on treating and curing tuberculosis. That's the primary kind of focus areas in Douglas County, because those are the greatest needs that we have here for public health. They work with law enforcement, with high-risk families, with education, physical and mental health organizations, and they've done an outstanding job. They came and presented data and facts on who they're treating and the numbers of people and what issues they're dealing with and how we can work as a community to fight these challenges. And they've reduced our costs by over $350,000 in a year and a half from what we were paying the state. So another example of where you can have it both ways. We can actually improve the quality of the service and reduce the cost to taxpayers by doing innovative things like this, working on a regional basis, finding the entity that's best suited to provide the service at the lowest cost, and tackling the issues. So it's a great partnership, and credit to Carson City, to their board and their staff, and all of the public health folks who are providing the service here. They're doing a great job.
Okay. Well, that pretty well covers the August 15th meeting. Next meeting is September 5th, and I don't think we have an agenda yet, right?
Yeah, we have an extra week in
Yeah.
August, so we've actually got a 3-week or a 2-week break between meetings. So we will keep you posted on that.
Okay.
But there is a meeting on September 5th,
September
so please
5th.
come and join us and share your thoughts on any of the issues we have.
And it had to happen eventually. Now we're going to offer you an opportunity to win something.
Ah, that's
Yes.
right. So we have a contest. This is through Connect Nevada, and we want to promote this for everyone to go on to this website. Lloyd, it is Connect.
Sorry.
Let me just make sure we get it. ConnectNV.org.
Poor John.
So go to www.connectnv.org, and you can fill out. You click on. We're going to play with this, Lloyd. Come on.
Sorry, John.
Well, this shows people that this is not we don't rehearse this ahead of time. So you log on to connectnv.org and click Take the Speed Test. And what we do here, you hold it now.
Okay, it's my turn.
This is good. Okay, so what we do is we're trying to identify where the speed, the broadband speed is in Nevada and in Douglas County, so that the private providers can improve service, broadband connectivity service to our residents. So you can go on, you can take this test. It'll help us identify where we have connectivity and what the speeds are. And the goal, again, is to improve the access and affordability and speed of broadband wireless to our residents. So please go ahead and take that. And you can win an iPad. That's the contest.
Yes.
You go on and take this test, and you can win a free iPad.
And it's through August 26th.
Right.
But the best thing to do is go to the website, and they'll explain the whole thing.
much better than I was able to, clearly.
Well,
But
that wasn't
it's a
a
great
slam.
it's a great contest. So please do that.
Okay.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, how about an update on the Community Senior Center? How are things going out
Sure,
there?
good. The road widening for Waterloo Lane is about 80% complete. We had what we thought was a change order. We brought it to the board, and then we were able to fix it and get the cost to come in under the existing contract. And just so everyone knows, the Waterloo Lane contract is a couple $100,000 under budget. So we've done really well. Continue to manage this project. It's an expensive project, taxpayer resources that are going into this, and we're committed to making sure that we spend it within the budget, hopefully under budget, and on time. And that we deliver a product that not only meets all of our expectations but exceeds that, and that we can be an example of how to not just create a great community and senior center for Douglas County and the Carson Valley, but within the entire West here. That's really, we think this is going to be a showpiece and a wonderful asset for our community, not just from the services that will be provided there for residents, but from an economic vitality standpoint. When businesses and residents look at where they want to live, that they'll look at the quality of the type of public amenities that we have here, and they'll see value there. So 80% complete on Waterloo Lane widening. The footings for the building are 100% complete.
Great.
We posted some aerial pictures on our Facebook page. So if you go on see Douglas County, Nevada on Facebook, you can like us, and we're going to post regular updates on the project. And we posted some aerials that are really cool to see the project start to come out of the ground. So the footings are 100% complete. The slab pour will begin on Thursday, August 22nd. So you'll see the concrete crews starting to move out there. And again, the project at this time is on schedule and on budget, and that's the way we intend to keep it.
That's a great report. Super.
All right.
News you can use. You have a new issue out.
We do. Every month now we have an external newsletter that we continue to put out. And this month we talk about the Moody's. A year ago, Standard & Poor's rated us. We got an A+ bond rating. Just about a month or two ago, Moody's took a look at us, another international rate. There are 3 rating agencies, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and Fitch. Moody's rated us a AA2, which is actually the 3rd highest bond rating they provide to local governments. And so very strong is what they rated us. That was great. We've continued to do work on our priority-based budgeting, and that's been recognized nationally for in local government as an innovative way to pursue budgeting. Talk about our lands bill. It's been introduced in the Senate. The Genoa Main Street ribbon cutting. Great work going on in Douglas County.
Well, the priority-based budgeting, people are now contacting you at Douglas County to find out how to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys have become leaders in this.
We're the first county in the country. A number of municipalities, cities have done it, and we're still new at this, and we're learning, and we're making mistakes and finding our way through. But we've had some early successes just in creating a conversation about how do you take taxpayer resources and make sure you're investing in the highest priorities to residents and that have the greatest value and return on investment. That's the whole point of it. And so I think that's been through our discussions on roads and investing in road maintenance. Over $1 million shifted into roads this current year, and we're going to continue on that path with the road funding task force. In other areas, we've been able to tighten up and shift money to where it needs to go. So,
Okay, we got about a minute left, and it might be a good time maybe plug the website. There's an awful lot of information on that website, and it's getting bigger and bigger and more information every day.
it is, and you can find our county manager reports on the Board of Commissioners' actions. We do this twice a month, and that's on our website, of course, and it's on YouTube. We link it from there. So you go to douglascountynv.gov. I know that address a little bit better than the other one we talked about here, but douglascountynv.gov, and all kinds of updates now. Particularly I'd encourage people go on there and click on the Notify Me. You can get emergency updates if there's a wildland fire, if there's a flood, if there's a law enforcement issue of some kind. We'll send out a notice. We'll post it on our website, and it sends an automatic notification to your cell phone if you sign up for text message or your email. So it's a great way to get notifications on important things. You can customize what you want to get updates on, Board of Commissioner meetings or whatever. And then we just put regular news. We're constantly updating information there. A lot of things, job postings and bids for contractors and just general information that people can find. So we'll be posting. We are creating a page on our website about the road funding task force to give information so the public can go on there and find out what are we talking about with the road funding task force. We're working on an open for business one-stop shop portal for businesses to go to find access to the proper resources when they're relocating or expanding here. So a lot of things we're doing there, and Facebook and Twitter. We also have our presence on. So we're really trying to do as much proactive communication with the public as possible. So a lot of ways to get connected. Go to our website, go to Facebook, and get connected with us. Call our office, and we'll get you whatever information you need.
Well, check it out. Awful lot of information available there. Steve, I want to thank you for sharing all the information you have today on the Douglas County Manager's Report. Steve Mokrohysky, our County Manager. I'm Lloyd Higuera, and we'll see you next time on the County Manager's Report.